Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the prophetic update from the gate for December the 23rd, winding down this year. We're on the downhill run here, just a few more days to go, and we'll be into 2025. Hope that you've been having a blessed day. It's been a little bit of a cold day, nothing compared to what Garland with, and some of them been dealing with a little farther up north, but cold for around here. And but it's been a clear day and a pretty day. And finally, we're back. It seems like it's been a long time since I've been here. You know, anytime you miss a time or two, and we miss the Shabbat service, well, it just seems like a long time to me anyway. But it's good to be back on the prophetic update. So say hello, hit a like, let us know that you're there.
Sirens are going off in Israel.
Sirens are going off in Israel. Yes, there's in the central part of Israel, sirens are going off. We'll pray about that in just a moment. But there is a lot happening. Lots been going on in the past couple of weeks, so we'll try our best to kind of summarize some of it for tonight. So feel free to make comments, have input. We appreciate that very much. Always prayer requests are welcome. Garland says it's freezing and snow. Freezing snow. Okay. Freezing rain and snow. That sounds like fun. Hey, Claude, welcome to the broadcast. We also got Sister Lucy and Sister Sharon, Brother Kermit. Gracie is probably there with them as well. Sister Elizabeth, Garland and Sherry and Ginger over on the YouTube side so far. And so it's good to have all of you all as you come on to be a part of the broadcast with us. I guess, Garland, we can, if Derek is able to get on there tonight, we'll just kind of fuss at him because he's way down in Florida and probably enjoying a lot warmer, nicer weather than any of us are having up here. So they're in Florida for the holidays. But anyway, get involved with us tonight. Be a part of the broadcast. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Ask Him to touch us and to minister to us tonight. There, Derek is. Hello, Derek, down in the sunny far reaches of the South. So welcome. Welcome to the broadcast tonight. All right, let's pray. Let's ask the Father to open up our hearts and minds tonight. Father God, we thank you. We thank you for your goodness and your grace and your mercy to us. You've blessed us, given us opportunity to come together tonight, to meet together, to share in your word, to listen for your voice. I pray, Father God, that you'd minister to the needs of your people, the variety of needs, the prayer requests, spoken and unspoken requests that have been given over the past few weeks. God, I pray that you continually intervene in the lives of your people, answer prayer, strengthen, heal, make provision, all the things that we need, Father God. We trust you in this day and time. We trust you in Yeshua's name that you would minister to your people. So open up our hearts that we may hear from you, and we'll give you praise and honor. Amen.
If I had a stick out in my tongue and my jet, send it to Derek.
Oh, well, Pastor Angie, 65 right now. Well, Pastor Angie is sticking out her tongue at you, and you're 65 degrees, she says. So anyway.
As I'm under 2 blankets.
Yeah, she's over there under 2 blankets trying to stay warm in the house with the heater on high. So anyway. All right. Just a quick, Pastor Angie, we'll talk more about it at Shabbat, but just we had a wonderful, I know we missed you guys. We missed being online personally with you guys. We had a wonderful event. Thanks to our daughter Heather and all the ladies and men at Jacob's Tent who helped with our 50th anniversary celebration. It was a wonderful time. It was a great weekend. Enjoyed the services and the midrash. Even got to talk a little bit. If you watch the midrash, you can see it. They didn't put up the happy birth anniversary where they sung to us and give Pastor Angie a chance to talk. That didn't make it on the live stream, but we enjoyed ourselves tremendously. It was a good season, a good time together. So we're excited to be home. We got home yesterday about 11 o'clock or so, and so we're excited to be home and ready to kind of get back at it because Hanukkah is coming. Hanukkah is upon us. I'll mention that a little bit tonight because that starts Wednesday night. We'll be starting our Hanukkah broadcast. So a lot of good things going on, a lot of enjoyable things here in this next week. So we'll jump into all of it together. Okay. Tonight, getting back to our prophetic update concerning the Middle East. I've got this down as Middle East upheaval, which is absolutely true. There is a lot of upheaval going on. If you want to open your Bibles to Ezekiel 38, I'll be making a couple of references there. Pastor Ed, you go ahead and put that up. I'll get to it in a few minutes. But Ezekiel chapter 38, probably verses 1 through 6. I'll be looking at in just a moment to go with one of my first thoughts I want to do. But there is a lot been happening with the fall of Syria and the transition there, with what's going on in Turkey, Hezbollah, Hamas, what's happening in the PLJ, what's happening in the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, or Judea and Samaria, however you choose to look at that. There is a lot that is going on right now, and there's realignment. I almost called it Middle East realignment, but it's more of an upheaval right now as the realignment is taking place, and things are happening. So I'm going to look at let's look at the events in Syria first. Things that are happening in Syria are really important for us to look at, because basically Syria has been taken over by ISIS. The lead group is an ISIS group. There's also some Al-Qaeda in there, but primarily the lead group is an ISIS group, and they are being backed by Turkey. All right, we have right now, they bolstered up our troops. We have about 2,000 troops in Syria, in northern part of Syria, and we are on the border in between Turkey and northern Syria, which is occupied by the Kurds. Okay, and so again, we had about 900 troops. They sent over another 1,100 or so troops. So roughly, we've got about 2,000 troops on the ground in that area. What makes that so dangerous is that Turkey is amassing troops on the border, and Turkey has a huge army. I think I looked up the numbers, and Turkey's army right now stands at about 510,000. All their military, not just all their military, which would include their Navy, their Air Force, all of it, comes at about 510,000. So we do have a few more troops in the Mediterranean. We got some ships there. We got some bases in Iraq and around. We might have might have at the most about 25,000 troops altogether in the Middle East, counting the troops on the ships and the bases in some of the friendlier countries and around. So our troops are vastly outnumbered. If there was ever a clash, and we are siding with the Kurds, that doesn't mean the Kurds are such great people. That's just in the Civil War we chose to side with the Kurds. And if Turkey did decide to attack, okay, our couple of thousand troops would not stand a chance. They would be overrun by numbers and weaponry. And yes, we got some firepower in the area with our planes and our ships, but they could be overrun very quickly on the land. And so it's a dangerous situation that we are in now. And so there's going to be a lot of discussion come up with Trump, and I'll get to him in just a moment. But anyway, one of the things that's led me to Ezekiel 38 is, as you know, Russia had quite a bit of military presence in Syria. All right? And so people have looked at that, connected it to what was going on in Ezekiel 38. But now Russia has moved their troops out. They moved their hardware, they moved their planes, they moved their ships from off of the coast of Syria over there. So they moved all their ships and everything out. And so where they went to was here. They have moved all of their hardware and their troops to Libya. Okay? You see there on my map. Now, you're going to get little geography lessons going on tonight, so don't roll your eyes and get stone-faced. This is important to understand the scriptures in Ezekiel 38. All right, so they've moved, Russia has moved all of their troops and everything to the part of Libya that is friendly to them. There's a little bit of a division going on in Libya, but that's where their troops are. Now, this has freaked out Europe. Europe is freaked out now because Russia is sitting just across the Mediterranean from Italy. You can see from Italy and from Greece and from the southern parts of Europe. They've got fighter jets and warships and submarines and missiles and surveillance means. All these things are now just sitting minutes or hours away from southern Europe, minutes away from the southern part of Greece and Italy. So now we have Russia. Not only are they in the eastern part of Ukraine and down in the southern part toward Turkey, but they are now in Libya. Okay? They're now in Libya. So that's kind of making Europe get a little bit nervous. It's making NATO move their forces around and get in preparation because they don't know exactly where this is going to lead. All right. So when it comes to Russia in Ezekiel 38, a lot of the commentaries have had it wrong for years. Okay, I'm going to show you a very wrong. Let's read the scriptures. Let's go to Ezekiel 38. I'll read the scriptures to you. I'm going to read it out of the ESV. Okay, let me get this map off of my face here. There I am. Okay, Ezekiel 38 verses 1 through 6. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, set your face toward Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. It's against him, not against the land. He's prophesying against Gog. And say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn you about and put hooks in your jaws, and I will bring you out and all your armies, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed in full armor, a great host, all of them with buckler and shield, wielding swords. Now this is full weaponry. We know that's not how battles are fought today, but that was the weaponry of the day that the scripture is being given so that they would understand. Verse 5, Persia, Cush. Cush is Ethiopia, or we would know it as Sudan. I'm going to throw you a new map up there in a minute. Okay, Sudan, and Put is Libya. All right, are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his hordes, Beth Togarmah from the uttermost parts of the north with all his hordes, many peoples are with you. So every generation, and I've talked to you before about a lot of these commentaries and maps and prophecies go back to a day and a time pre-World War II, some of them pre-World War I. So they're trying to understand from their knowledge and their perspective of what's going on with these nations and where they'd be located. And we can see from what happened in Syria, because Syria, who had been under the rule of Assad, the Assad family, for almost 60 years, fell in 8 days. In 8 days, it's gone. The Assad version of Syria is gone. Now, Syria is still there, but the Assad version of it is gone. And now ISIS, who Trump had to fight the last time he was in, and thought he had wiped most of them out, didn't get all of them, but wiped out their ability to wage war. In this time frame where Biden has been in office, they have re-energized themselves, they've rearmed themselves, and they marched through, before Trump could get in office, they've marched through, they have taken back Syria, they have set themselves up as the ruling power in Syria, and so now Syria is basically governed and overseen by ISIS. All right? But here is a map from the day and time when people were misunderstanding what was going on in the scriptures and how it related to the nations. Get back up there. All right. So now here is an interpretation of the version of Ezekiel 38 that I read to you. If you can see the map, I know some of you are looking on your phone, it's a little hard. All right, so in the top of the map, that big red area, they've got it as Rosh, okay? Because for generations, prophecy teachers and preachers, for decades, I guess it's better than generations, a couple of generations now, they've interpreted Rosh as being Russia. So all that red area up there is Russia, and they're saying that is Rosh. Well, that's a mistranslation and a misunderstanding. The word Rosh, we use it all the time. Rosh Hodesh, Rosh Hashanah. It doesn't mean Russia month or Russia year. It means the head of the year. All right? So a proper translation was an ESV, which is the chief prince. It means chief prince or ruler. So the word Rosh is the head of, the chief prince of Meshach, of Magog and Meshach and Tubal. Okay? Now, if you went to your New King James, the same verses, you went to your New King James, you don't have to put it up different, Angie. But it says in verse 2 of the New King James Version, Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, and prophesy against him. So it calls Gog the prince of Rosh, or the leader of Russia. And they want to say that Magog or Meshach is Moscow. All right? And so now they've got the land of Magog. That's fairly accurate, but it's more attributed to the eastern part of Turkey. You see Turkey is the little yellow country right there in the middle of that map. But Magog and Gomer and Togarmah are actually ancient Turkey. They are in that part, and there's a couple of nations to the side of Turkey. And then, of course, Persia is the same. Persia is Iran. Magog also stretches out into all of these stands out here. I'll show you a better map of that in a moment. All these different stands, and there's a reason for that. Put is Libya, and they've got it stretching out into some of the other African nations. But Put is basically Libya, which is now being occupied by Russia. So Russia, I'm not saying Russia's not going to be involved. I'm just saying they're not Rosh. They are not the primary leader of this, okay? The primary leader of this is going to be Turkey. That's why we keep their eye on them. And Ethiopia, or Cush, is actually the Sudan. Modern-day Ethiopia is about 67% Christian and about 10, maybe 8 to 10% Jewish, and then there's about 30-something% Muslim in there. Okay, so it's primarily Ethiopia. The reason they're persecuted so much is they're primarily a Christian nation who have been in a civil war, basically losing the civil war to the Sudan and to Somalia for many years. Okay, so basically your Islamic fundamentalists in that part of the country is Somalia and the Sudan, not Ethiopia. Ethiopia is having a lot of aliyah. That means their Jewish people are trying to get back to Israel. All right. So this is one of the maps. Now here is another map that is also wrong. So when you start pulling off Ezekiel 38 maps off the internet, you run into this. Now this one, look at this one. This one again has Rosh and Gog as Russia. Okay, they've got Rosh and Tubal and Meshach and Gog as all being in Russia. They've got Magog as Eastern Europe, Poland and Germany and Hungary and Austria-Hungary and Romania. They got all of those as Magog, and they've got Gomer as France, and then Togarmah as Turkey. Now, that also doesn't. They are doing this because of what they call they are following the migration of the people. So they look at the biblical map and say, okay, Magog used to be over here. Yeah, it used to be over in Turkey, but modern day Magog, all those people migrated over into Europe. Well, if you do that, you got to keep following that pattern. That pattern will take you all the way to America. It will take you to the Americas as well, and North America and South America, because all of these peoples also migrated on farther to North and South America. So that does not make sense. So when you look at a proper map of it, let me give you a modern day. This is the modern day map of that area, and so you'll see Iran or Persia, the yellow nation, right in the middle. Okay. All the way up the top, the little bit of pink, that's Russia. Yes, they're connected down there. And you've got Turkey and Georgia and a couple of this Armenia and Azerbaijan. I can't say that one anyway. But if you're looking at your map in Iran, you look to the right, you've got all the stands that used to be in the Soviet Union. You've got Afghanistan and Pakistan and Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. You got all these stands. What's important about them? Kazakhstan, anyway. You got all those stands that are just to the right and to the north of Iran. These are all predominantly Muslim nations. Okay? They're not 100% Muslim, but they're all predominantly Muslim nations, as well as Iran is, Iraq is. You got Saudi Arabia and Egypt. You got Sudan. If you look down at the bottom left-hand side of this map, you've got Sudan down there. That is again, all of these nations. You've got a few more. You got Yemen that's down in some of these areas down here that are against Israel right now on the Persian Gulf. You've got a lot of these nations there are historical enemies of Israel. All right? And the thing is that as we see this realignment taking place, all of these nations that are in this area, even if they are, quotation mark, quote, friendly to Israel right now, they are not real true friends of Israel. All right? They are all Islamic nations, primarily all of Southeast Asia, even Southwest Asia, and a lot of Western Asia is all Islamic nations. So Israel is surrounded. Let's see if we get that back up there in just a moment. I can see if you can see little Israel. Little Israel is just a little pink one right there to the north of Saudi Arabia. Right on the edge of the sea is a little pink strip, and that little pink strip is Israel. They are totally surrounded by predominantly Islamic nations who, although they have no, I don't want to call it friendly. They have a tolerating relationship with Israel. They are not true friends of Israel. Even those in the Abrahamic Accords, they want to trade with Israel. They have a bit of a fear of Israel because of Israel's military capabilities, but these nations are not friends of Israel, not by any means. And so as we see this realignment taking place, we see the enemies of Israel shifting around, and most of those that are in the shifting and that are moving right now are true enemies of Israel. All right? Now, Donald Trump gave a speech the other day, and in his speech, here's what he said: the fall of Assad was an unfriendly takeover by Turkey, and Erdogan holds the key to Syria. So Trump realizes that Turkey is the key player here, that is going to be uh, not Iran, but Turkey is going to have their thumbs on the scale in Syria. Iran is losing their hold on Syria, but Turkey taking over is not good because Turkey is really adamantly opposed to Israel, especially in this war right now. And they are constantly giving speeches against Israel and for the Palestinians. Now, this current administration, the current administration of Biden has stated this. They said, we will recognize and fully support a future Syrian government that results from a fair and inclusive transition process. This is ISIS and Al Qaeda. And the current administration says we will recognize and fully support whoever takes over Syria. This is the foolishness of not understanding Scripture, not understanding the Middle East. I hate to say it like this, but this is, it may say the Biden administration, but Biden is doing very little of the decision making right now. He has got underlings. This younger generation are more connected to the squad and to anti-Israel sentiment than Biden ever has been in his tenure of 50-something years in Washington. And so this is coming from the surrounding peoples that are saying, we'll recognize Syria. It's like, okay, so we're going to recognize and have friendly relations with ISIS and Al Qaeda. Suddenly we're going to be their friends. Well, you can be guaranteed that Donald Trump is not going to come into office and be their friend. That's one of the reasons for this quick move and takeover in this last couple of months of Biden's administration, is to get their self in place and get their self established before Donald Trump comes into office. And although they say they want to be at peace with Israel, they want to have a peaceful relationship with Israel, they want to have a peaceful relationship with the United States, these are Islamic nations. These are terrorists. They're not just friendly Muslims. These are radical Islamic terrorists who say they want to have a friendly relationship. It's like the old story of the fox and the scorpion, where there was a river and the fox was getting ready to swim across, and the scorpion, asked him, said, will you give me a ride? I can't swim across. I need to get to the other side. Will you please, let me ride on your back over? And the fox said, no, you'll sting me and we'll both die in the waters, because you'll sting me and paralyze me and we'll die. And the scorpion said, no, I won't. I promise I won't do that. I'll just ride over with you. We'll be friends. We'll ride over together. And we'll both get to the other side. Well, halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the fox. And as they're both sinking, the fox said, why did you do that? And the scorpion said, because it's in my nature. Okay? Because it's in my nature. It is in the nature of these fundamental Islamic, radical, jihadists, terrorists, whatever name you want to put on there, because in their religion, it is in the nature of their religion to hate Israel and to hate and hate Christianity, which will be Europe and the United States. I don't know if you've seen what's been going on in Europe. They have been disrupting, and this is not a pro-Christmas statement, but they have been disrupting Christmas events in Germany and in other parts of Europe. They've had a lot of migration out of the Middle East, where all these wars have been going on for years. And now they're not coming in and assimilating and saying it's okay. They've gone into the marketplace. One drove a car into the middle of a Christmas market. They're taking over, trying to disrupt these things. Why? It's in their nature. They have been taught from children that Christians and Jews are infidels and worse than infidels, and they need to be eradicated. They don't even actually look for us to convert. They're looking to eradicate us, or at least break the power of the West, and whoever's left that won't convert will be killed. Now, the Islamic Mohadi, I don't know if you've heard the term Mahdi. That's the Islamic Messiah. Their prophecies say that their Messiah will return under a black flag to lead the final caliphate, which Turkey wants to be that final caliphate. ISIS wanted to be that. If you remember ISIS, they marched under black flags and black armbands that had the Allah, had a message on the side, something like Allah is great, God is great. Okay, and so they went under that black banner because Islam says that the Mahdi of the last days, and the last days army of Islam that conquers the world and brings everybody in subjection to Islam, will march under a black flag, the black flag of Allah. All right, and so Turkey is bidding to be that final caliphate, to lead that final caliphate that comes down and eradicates Israel, and that begins to expand to the west into Europe and to others, okay, and leads a mighty army, that the Mahdi comes back, and they actually believe the Mahdi will be Yeshua, Jesus, but they believe he'll come back to correct what the Christians and the Jews have said, and that is that he was Islamic. He was not a Jew, he was not a Christian, he was Islamic, and he'll come back and he will lead what we see in the book of Revelation as a move that if you don't convert to the religion, the false religion of the last days, that your heads will be cut off. Well, that's exactly what the Muslim religion does to unbelievers. They believe you are to be beheaded. They are to die by beheading if they do not convert. So there is a connection here that to the Middle East. If you want to read something on that, read Joel Richardson's The Islamic Antichrist, okay, or The Middle East Beast and the Islamic Antichrist. Two good books by Joel Richardson, because he has focused on the Middle East with his ministry for most of his ministry. All right. But now I'm reading, Fox News had an article up called "Trump Could Face Renewed ISIS Threat in Syria as Turkey Goes After the U.S. Ally." The U.S. ally they're talking about is the Kurds. So Turkey wants to get rid of the Kurds. We stand in between Turkey and the Kurds. Our 2,000 little troops over there. Yes, they're special forces. Yes, I'm sure they're good at what they do. But even 2,000 U.S. forces, special forces, may not be much of a match for 500,000 Turkish military personnel. So Trump, who dealt with that, and he says he will deal with them, but now we're dealing in a different place. Before we were dealing with them in Iraq. He dealt with Turkey, with ISIS in Iraq. And Iraq have basically been subdued onto to not resist us. They're building back up now, and they're causing us problems in Iraq now. But now Turkey is backing this version of ISIS, and Turkey is not subdued to us. We've not conquered them or subdued them in any form or fashion. So it's not going to be as easy as what Trump may think to go in there and to defeat ISIS again. I don't think Turkey will sit back and stand for it. We shall see. Trump does not want to start wars, but he's not beyond getting into fights that he believes he could win without declaring a whole war on things. So anyway, the UN has made a statement. They slammed Israel and said they must stop all the strikes in Syria. And Israel has been striking Syria because they do not want the weapons that Russia had given to Assad and his regime, that the Syrian army had, that they fled and left behind. The army fled, they left, and so all these weapons that they left, we left them in Afghanistan, and the Islamic terrorists have the billions of dollars of stuff that we left. And Israel said, no, that's not going to happen down here. And so they've been bombing all these weapons, all these strongholds, planes, tanks. They bombed the Navy, what ships were there. They have been bombing all this stuff to basically prevent that from happening to them. So what we see in this alignment, there are things that are happening that is pushing this, what's been going on. And I think what's been going on, I said this the other day, what's been going on is akin to, if not fully, Psalms 83. Because all these bordering terrorist nations and terrorist groups that are fighting with Israel, they look like a confederation the confederation is led by Iran, but it comes out of Psalms 83. Okay, and so I think that's what we've been seeing for the last year is the formulating of that. But it'll eventually lead to. It's not going to be stopped. It's in the Word. No amount of prayer or wishful thinking will change it. It's going to lead to Ezekiel 38 at some point. We don't know exactly when. So Israel is clearing out that area. A lot of the terrorists are deserting. A lot of the Hezbollah, who is supposed to be this great and powerful army, are deserting Lebanon and the Hezbollah and Iran. They're getting out. They're leaving their weaponry and they're trying to get out. Some of them are surrendering. Some of them are fleeing. The same thing is taking place in several other places. But Israel has also turned their attention to the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, in Judea and Samaria, and the forces of the Fatah, the forces of the Palestinian Authority, their military was supposed to be subduing the Islamic Jihad, but their soldiers are refusing to fight against the terrorists. So the Palestinians who are in the West Bank, okay, are refusing to fight against the terrorists that are trying to take out the Palestinian Authority and their authority in the nation over the Palestinians. They're trying to subdue it so Hamas can try to reemerge and take over it. So the Palestinian Jihad that's in Judea and Samaria, Hamas that is there, they are planning to return to suicide bombings. They're saying right now they don't have that much of a standing army there, so you may see a lot more suicide bombings that are going to take over. And they're saying to Israel and even to the Palestinian Authority, if you enter this territory, we will blow ourselves up. And they have put up videos of them with suicide suits, which excludes explosive belts and vests. They dress what resembles a ghost, threatening to explode themselves. So this thing is still stirring, it's still developing, it's still changing right now. Now there is a and they're trying to get this done. Israel's trying to get it done because Trump has demanded of Hamas and of Hezbollah, even demanded of Israel, said do whatever you have to do, get this hostage situation over, stop this before I come into office. And in his words, not my words, in his words, if the hostages are still being held captive, because remember, 5 or 6 of them are still Americans, he said there will be hell to pay for the Palestinians, for Hamas, for Hezbollah, once he comes into office if those hostages have not been released. So they've been working. They've come to an agreement. They're at the end of the agreement. They said they're about 90% completed with an agreement for a ceasefire with Hamas. And Hamas had agreed to 23 hostages being released. And Israel is Netanyahu has demanded at least 11 more, which would be a total of 34 hostages. Some of them believe that's about all that's alive. So they're wanting those 34 hostages released. We've said before, these people are so twisted that they hold bodies as hostage, just as much as they do living hostages. So that's what this last 10% is. Israel's trying to get another 11 hostages released. And the agreement is that for every hostage they release, that Israel will release 20 Palestinian Hamas captives that they have. Out of the prison, those who are in prison, they'll release 20 to 1. They asked for 300 to 1. Israel said that's ridiculous. We're not doing 300 to 1. And so Israel has agreed to a 20 to 1 swap. We'll see how that goes. All right. But the focus right now of Israel is on Iran. Iran has not disappeared. They have been diminished because they no longer have their proxies, no longer have full power. And Trump has offered to hold high-level nuclear talks with Iran. He has said to Israel, you need to go after the nukes. And Israel is saying they may have to in these last days of Biden's administration. They may have to go ahead and do a straight attack on Iran because Iran is going to scramble. They're only days away or weeks away from having weapons-grade uranium to where they can build a nuclear bomb. They may need other rockets and things, but once they get the warheads, they can always stick it on a rocket very easily that can carry a small warhead. So Israel is saying they may have to strike. Mossad is urging Netanyahu and the Knesset to strike Iran directly and the Houthis as well, to get it done now, to get it done quickly before Iran gets the nuclear weapons. And Iran is fearing a direct attack from Israel, which is causing them to try to speed up their nuclear process. And everyone agrees. Saudi Arabia agrees. Other Western-friendly nations in the Middle East agrees. Israel, the United States, Europe, they all agree that Iran with a nuclear weapon is too dangerous. It has to be stopped. They cannot allow them. They would be the only active. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. They're not really considered to be terrorists, even though they are a little bit on the radical side. They're not considered to be terrorists in Pakistan. They focus more of their attention on India. India and Pakistan skirmish back and forth, but both of them are nuclear powers, so they kind of at a standstill most of the time. But nuclear weapons in the hand of Iran would be the only true radical terrorist state that is trying to force itself on the nations of the West and on the Middle East that would have nuclear weapons. And so that would not be that would cause World War III faster than Russia-Ukraine if Iran got nuclear weapons or was close to get nuclear weapons. At some point, I feel like, this is just my opinion, could be totally wrong. In my opinion, there's going to be a strike on Iran, on their nuclear facilities, before Trump takes office. Israel's not going to wait that long. They may even get some help. Right now, the United States is doing more strikes in Yemen and the Houthis than Israel is. But Israel's getting ready to do an all-out attack on the Houthis as well. And they are the only ones of Iran's proxies that haven't been hit hard, like Hamas and Hezbollah and now Syria and Iraq. All of these have been hit pretty hard. But the Houthis, because of their distance away, have not been. But the United States is now hitting the Houthis hard because they're going after more ships. They've targeted almost 100 ships in the last year in the Red Sea, and it's causing a lot of problems. You've heard, if you've listened to the news, Trump has been talking about trying to take back the Panama Canal. Now he has some under idea. He's talking about wanting to buy Greenland. Okay, apparently Greenland is not an independent country. It's the largest island in the world, but he's talking about the need maybe to buy Greenland. I know we have bases in Greenland. Several others do as well. I don't know if it's a neutral territory or what. I didn't look all that up, but he wants to buy Greenland. Countries do purchase things from other countries when it's necessary, but he's also wanting to seize control of the Panama Canal. One of the reasons he's doing that, and I did not think about how much it costs to bring a ship through the Panama Canal. Panama, because of the way that the inflation is working in the world, they're saying now a large cargo ship coming through the Panama Canal has to pay as much as $500,000 to come through the canal. All right. I think it was 500. I don't think it's 500 million. I think it's $500,000. Could be wrong on that. You can look it up. I know, Claude, you're pretty good at looking that up. You are too, Derek. But they're saying Trump is saying that they're squeezing America because we use that as our primary between the West Coast and the East Coast, our shipping lanes, and they're charging hundreds of thousands of dollars per ship to come through, something that we paid for, we dug, we paid for, and he's saying, I want it back. So he's right now in a tete-a-tete with the president of Panama because he says, we're going to take it back. We're going to take control, seize control of the Panama Canal. Now, I know how he's going to do that or what he's going to do. Yes, Panama doesn't have any ability to resist if we imposed ourselves on it. I don't know how the rest of the world would deal with the fact of Trump imposing himself on the Panama Canal, because one of our wonderful presidents and administrations a few years or decades back, turned the full control of the Panama Canal over to Panama. We had control of it. They turned it over to Panama and started paying Panama to use what we had built, and there was a lot of people died building the Panama Canal on our behalf. A lot of our people that went down there died. A lot of effort, a lot of money went into it. It's kind of like, the Israel in the war, in the '67 war, conquered the Temple Mount. But to keep peace, they turned the Temple Mount over to Jordan to operate it. And now Islam has control of it, and they won't let the Jews do much except walk across it occasionally, and then harass them when they do that. They're not allowed to pray there. They're not allowed to hold assemblies on the Temple Mount, because they believe it's a desecration to their mosques and all this kind of thing. You do know one of the reasons that Hamas gave for the October 7th massacre and what they're calling the Al-Aqsa, which is the mosque on the Temple Mount, flood, was because they said the Jews are going to take over the Temple Mount, and it was to stop them from taking over the Temple Mount, was why this war began. Hasn't worked out well for Hamas, for sure, but that's what's going on. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and so going back to the Houthis, they have been trying to stop the shipping through the Red Sea by intimidating, the Persian Gulf, by intimidating the Eastern Asian nations to have to go all the way around Africa and cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars extra to make a 2-week trip all the way around the southern tip of Africa to get to Western Europe and get to America if they come that way rather than going east to the west coast of America. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot that the world has at stake in the Middle East economically. A lot of nations get their oil out of the Middle East. So an attack because Trump is also encouraging Israel to attack the nuclear sites and attack their oil fields. And although Iran doesn't control the majority of the oil in the Middle East, it still becomes a disruption to the oil supply to many nations who get it from them. And that would bolster Russia because they'd have to turn to somebody, Saudi Arabia, Russia, something like that. Trump wants to build up our oil supply to where we become an exporter of oil to some of these nations that rely on the Middle East for oil. We do have the reserves to do that. We do have the capacity under our country to do that. But this administration stopped all the drilling and the pipelines and everything that was doing that. Anyway. All right. Iran, let's turn a couple of more things here as we get ready to wind down. Back on Iran for the last moment here. Iran is recruiting children to attack Israeli targets across Europe. Swedish and Norwegian security forces have raised alarms about these Tehran-backed operations. They are sending, when I say children, 15 and 13-year-olds, they're recruiting 15 and 13-year-olds to go in with loaded weapons to attack some of these Israeli targets. If they start doing if they bring back the suicide bombers, you haven't seen as much from suicide bombers as they had for a while because they thought they could take Israel on head on. That didn't work for them, so they're threatening to bring the bombers back, the suicide bombers back. So they're recruiting children, young teenagers in Europe, and they're there. They've got all these, and they're in America now. You realize that the majority of all of these migrants, illegal migrants that came across our southern border, most of them are military-age young men, older teenagers in their 20s, maybe 30s, not with families, not with wives and children. Yes, there are some that came with wives and children, but the majority of them, I think I heard one time the number was like 70% of these men are single military-age men that are now in our country. Maybe they'll be like the guy who lit a woman on fire, set her on fire. They don't even know why. Just set her on fire on the subway in New York City. Don't know if he's crazy or what was with him. If he was
immigrant.
I know he was an illegal immigrant.
Illegal immigrant that had been sent back and then came back in under Biden.
He'd been deported again once before and had come back in under Biden. So anyway, all right. The IDF is still threatening Hezbollah and saying if you do not withdraw past the Litani River, that they will crush your head like that of a serpent. That's interesting. That the heel of the woman, who eventually, part of God's plan became Israel, would crush the head of the serpent. We know that was Yeshua himself, but they're using that terminology, the terminology that goes all the way back to Eve, and said, we'll crush the head of the serpent if you don't. Now, the head of the serpent is not Hezbollah. Okay? When Israel says, if you don't withdraw, the IDF will crush the head of the serpent. The head of the serpent is Iran. Now they're saying that there's nothing left for them to really. A Lebanese sheikh, a leader in Lebanon, said that Israel has left nothing of Hezbollah. And now Israel is saying, if these people do not back off, then what we're going to do is we're going to go after the head of the serpent. We're going to crush Iran if these proxies don't stop attacking us. If they don't do what we say, back off. If they don't give back the hostage, do all this, we're going after Iran. That's why Iran is terrified. They really are. They're terrified of Israel right now. And the problem is they are losing control of their proxies, and they're losing control of their own people. So that's why we say they're having a lot of desertions from their proxies. A lot of the people are afraid of Israel. They're running, they're fleeing, and they're giving up, surrendering. A lot of them would rather be in prison in Israel than be killed in Lebanon or in Gaza. So a lot of this is going on. So this is what's been going on. This is just a summary of what's been going on in the days we have missed while I have been out. So I've been out and not had this broadcast. So we keep our eyes on Israel. We keep our eyes on what's going on over there. We're watching this because this is unfolding. The holidays will not matter. Israel will begin Wednesday night, the same time we begin. Well, they're actually a day ahead of us. But anyway, Wednesday night in Israel, they will begin the celebration of Hanukkah, which is a celebration of a great military victory. Okay, part of the celebration of Hanukkah, the main celebration of Hanukkah, actually, historically, is a celebration of a great victory over a larger enemy. Okay, and Pastor Angie and I, now we are going to be teaching some of these things. We'll be sharing some of this, teaching, showing you observances, giving you tips and insights and tools for observing Hanukkah if you want to observe Hanukkah. I'm not going to get into all that tonight. I will put let me put up here the schedule. Here it is. All right, Hanukkah begins. It'll begin at 6 o'clock or sundown. Actually, sundown comes a little earlier than 6 right now this time of the year, but it'll begin at sundown or 6 o'clock on December the 25th.
Well, that's
begins Hanukkah.
Because of all the different time zones,
Yeah.
that's the one that has been adopted.
Yeah, that's been adopted. Israel adopted the 6 o'clock because of the dispersion of all the Jews around the world. They just adopted 6 o'clock as sundown because sundown is all these different times all around the world. So anyway, we observe the 6 o'clock. Some still observe sundown, and that's fine, whichever way you want to do it. Biblically, it says sundown, but 6 o'clock is covers it as well. So we will be broadcasting an observance, and a teaching, instruction, tips, guidelines of things you can use and how you can observe. We would like for you to have your candles ready. If you like candles, everybody doesn't. It's not a command. Get a Hanukkah menorah, or at least get you 9 candles. You need a shamash and 8 candles, one for each night, that you can do if you like the lighting the candles. If you don't want to light the candles, at least listen to the connection and what it means and why. Because Yeshua celebrated this. Yeshua celebrated Hanukkah. He was in John chapter 10. He was in the temple court. It was the feast of dedication. The word dedication, Hanukkah in Hebrew. Hanukkah is dedication. All right, and it was winter, so Hanukkah always takes place in the winter. It takes place the Feast of Dedication. We'll get into all those details of that when we get Wednesday night. And so we'll be doing a special service at the gate. We're all going to come together. Everybody who can is going to come together at the gate on December the 31st at 7 o'clock. Each one of our nights will be at 7. We won't do it at 6. Every night at 7 so people that's working can get home in time. So each one of our broadcasts will be at 7 o'clock each night. Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on December the 31st. That's a week from this Wednesday. We'll have a special service
No,
at the gate with a meal to follow after.
that's Tuesday night is the 31st.
Hang on. Did I say that wrong again? All right. Okay. Tuesday night. Sorry, I said Wednesday. I've got it up here. Did I have it up Thursday? No, I was going to have December the 31st. Okay, Tuesday night, December 31st. I still had Wednesday on my mind. Tuesday night, the December the 31st at 7 o'clock, we will be having our Hanukkah service at the gate. And we'll have a meal afterwards, soups and salads, sandwiches, if you want to come and participate.
We will be having Shabbat service.
We will be having Shabbat service this week. We'll be at our regular Shabbat this coming week. And that special Hanukkah service, that's also the new moon. So we'll be talking about the new moon that night as well. So take the time to join us. If you can't join us physically, well, join us online for that. So we'll be talking about that. That's coming up. It's not a commanded holy day from scriptures, but Yeshua did observe it. It is a national holiday for Israel. It's been around since 200 years before Yeshua. Was where the setting takes place 200 years before the time of Yeshua in the New Testament. So it was around in Yeshua's time. The Feast of Dedication was there. We'll give explanations of what it's about, why. There's a lot of traditions in there. Some of the traditions we do not observe as far as that goes with Hanukkah, but we'll be talking about some of these things that you can do. All right. If you're looking for and have the desire to celebrate Hanukkah, we're going to give you some insight on how to do that. And if you do observe it, and you've got your menorah and you want to set it up, and we'll all light our candles together each night. Now, we discussed this today. I meant to discuss this with Angie before. So what I'm planning to do about the recorded one, does that work for you?
Whatever.
Does that work for you? Okay. We're trying to figure out a way because Thursday night, the second night, is our family night. And Heather and her family are coming up, and we're not going to be broadcasting that night. But what I'm considering doing is after we have closed out the service, the first night of Hanukkah, that while we got everything set in place, that Angie and I will record the second night of Hanukkah. Okay, we'll record everything for the second night of Hanukkah for everyone else, and then I will just post that on at 7 o'clock on Thursday night. I will post that online to our YouTube and to our Facebook, and that you all can follow along with and like with us if you want to do that. That way we don't skip over a night or double up a night or something like that. So we may just put that one up as a recording. But again, we could change our mind. We may do something else. Anyway, be with us for these services. All right? If you need to get a hold of us, here's our contact information. If you got questions or comments, this is our post office box, our website, as well as our email address. We're on the apps. We'll broadcast. I do have it fixed up. I was able to secure a free copy for 2 months of the software that I do this with, and take it into our living room on a different computer. Take it in there because this one's pretty much stable back here. I can't move it, but I was able to get one. So it will be broadcast through YouTube, through Facebook, and on the website, just like we do right here. So we'll do the Hanukkah services. We'll all be done like that. So join us. Also, we're coming up on the new moon. We said we'd be celebrating that. If you want to send in a new moon offering, you can send it in to enter that information. You can go through the internet, or you got time to mail it if you want to.
That is a yes, you will.
Yeah, that is a commanded. The new moon is a commanded service and a commanded offering. So anyway, thank you for being with us tonight. I don't see that there was any other questions. Yeah, Mark, I saw you all on there. Ed, I see you coming on late.
Buddy put up about the Panama.
Oh, he did put up about the Panama. This didn't show up on mine. Is it on Facebook?
Yes.
All right. Angie said that Buddy put up on Facebook about the Panama, if you want to go read on that. But that ought to be interesting. Trump is making a lot of statements and declarations that he's going to do. I don't know if he'll be able to do all those things or not, but it will be interesting to see if he does.
Let me read. Fees vary based on the size and purpose of vessels, and the charges range from as low as 50 cents, yeah, I guess that's it, to as high as 300,000.
300,000. Okay. All right. Well, Trump was saying 500,000, so he always exaggerates just a
Whichever,
little bit.
whatever,
Trump always exaggerates a little bit.
still a
So,
lot.
all right. So it's a lot of money, and he says they're ripping us off. So
They are.
you know how Trump is about that. All right. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back Wednesday night at 7 o'clock for the first night of Hanukkah. Come and join us. And thank you for being with us tonight. Mason has his haircut tomorrow, so the next time you see
Okay,
Mason,
get him
he
up
will be
there.
a he'll be a clean little puppy dog with a
Get him
fresh
up
haircut.
there. He
I don't
will.
know where he is. Mason, where are you?
Macy, go to Daddy.
You won't come say, show him how shaggy you are now, how pretty you'll look when we get to Hanukkah. He ain't coming.
Mason,
He's asleep on my chair over there.
go
He ain't
see
getting it.
Daddy.
Come
Here he
on.
comes.
There he comes. You gonna come say hi to everybody, Mason, before we get off the air? Well, nope, he's not in the mood. There you are. Hey, buddy. Come on. Come up here and say hi. Show everybody how shaggy you are now so that when they see you the first night of Hanukkah, you'll look much better. Okay? Are you ready for a snack? Yeah. Mason knows if he's a good puppy, he gets a snack. No, I don't have it up here now. He's looking for it. I'll have to go get it for you. All right. Good night. Y'all have a blessed night.